Hello there, Moonies and anime song lovers, and welcome to the epilogue of Watch Sailor Moon, Learn Japanese, Episode 1. I have not done the ending theme song, Heart Moving, yet to this series, so here we go. I'm going to teach you Japanese through the song Heart Moving from Sailor Moon. So confession time, I actually hate this song. I think in all fairness, I probably don't hate the song, I just hate the way the singer sings the song. I always skipped it whenever I listened to my Sailor Moon CDs back in the day. And when I did listen to it, I always made fun of her nasally singing voice. But anyway, it's a fine song otherwise. And the lyrics are actually pretty easy and a really nice way to lock in some of these Japanese language rules. So let's get started. So Yume no Naka, this comes up in so many Sailor Moon songs and songs in general. So Yume is dream, no is apostrophe S, Naka is inside. So inside a dream or in a dream in better English. In my dream, most likely. Futari de, so futari is two people literally, but it usually means you and me, the two of us. Futari de, so de is a particle that means that futari, the two of us, we are going to do a verb. We're going to do a verb together. And this verb is ita, which is the past tense of iru, which is like to be or to exist with people. And then the yone at the end, I actually did a video, or maybe I'm going to do a video. I filmed it, not sure if I put it up yet. Maybe there's a card floating around my face somewhere or a link in the video description below. But I am doing a Japanese for Beginners language learning series on this channel as well. And I very recently went over yo and ne and what that means. So check that out if you're interested in like a fuller breakdown. But yeah, yone means like, you know, I am giving you this declaration with confidence. That's the yo part. And then the ne kind of softens it up and makes it like, don't you agree? So yume no naka futari de ita yo ne. Like in my dream we were together, you know? Hoshi tachi. So hoshi is star and tachi is S. It's a plural. So you may have heard Japanese language doesn't really have plurals. They don't really always use plurals, but if you really want to specify that something is plural, you add tachi. It's like watashi tachi turns watashi, which is me, into us. Anata tachi turns you into y'all, or you guys, you folks. So hoshitachi is stars. Ni means that a verb is going to be related to the stars. We're going to find out how that verb is going to be related based off of how the verb is conjugated. That was such a clear explanation. Let me look at that verb. So the verb is mamorarete. So mamoru is the root verb, which means to protect. But mamorarete is the passive tense of mamoru, which means to be protected, rather than to protect, like I protect X. No, X is protecting me. And X in this case is the stars. So the stars were protecting. It doesn't say me, there's no pronoun, but in the previous line we were talking about futari, so you and me. So it can be assumed in a dream we were there, you and I, and the stars were watching over us. So in better English, with my translation, localization, hey, if you've randomly stumbled upon this video, I'm a professional Japanese anime and game translator, localize games for a living, so that's what I do. Anyway, here is how I would translate or localize this song for a subtitle. We were together in my dreams. The stars were watching over us. You could think of it as like one big complete thought, one long line. We were together in my dreams where the stars were watching over us, or the stars were watching over us in my dream, or something like that. But I prefer to keep the lines kind of separate just so that it's more like a song, more singable. Next part. So, tomodachi is friends, no is apostrophe S, but in this case it's kind of turning tomodachi, the noun, into an adjective, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. So, toki is the next noun that comes after tomodachi, between which is no. So, tomodachi no toki. You could think of that as like the time of friendship or the time of friends, or the friends apostrophe s time. That sounds supernatural. People totally talk like that. So 友達の時 means like when we were friends, the time when we were friends. There's no pronoun we in there, but you can kind of assume that that's what she's talking about, especially when you look at the lines that come after and before this. So 友達の時には, so ni, again, this is a particle, kind of means in, or during, or with, or by, and depending on what words come after that, you get more context of what that particle exactly means. So kind of with, in, by, when. Wa, that comes right after that, is the particle that means as for, ... So as for, in regards to the time when we were friends, 気にせず. So this verse, like these 3 lines, are going to use this ki in 3 different ways. It's pretty magical. So 気にせず, ki, it means sort of like your mind, your will, your heart, your intentions, and it means chi, like if you do Tai Chi, if you're into like, you know, Chinese philosophy, whatever, that's what it is. My hair is making my microphone rattle, probably. So 気にせず, the せず is a like negative version of to do something. So that's an expression. 気にせず means without thinking about it, without giving it a second thought, without care, without worry. That's kind of what that means. So 友達の時には気にせず. So at the time when we were friends, it didn't cross my mind. ... Something didn't cross my mind. We're going to learn more about what didn't cross her mind in the next line.
何気なく話していたけど.
So 何気なく, and look at this. It's written in just hiragana in the original lyrics, but there's kanji that goes with this. And as you'll see, it uses the same key from before in 気にせず. Nani ge, it's pronounced ge in this case, because kanji makes sense. Nani ge naku, and again, this one, the naku at the end is a negative thing. It comes from nai, which means like the absence of something. It means not something. And you use that when you're talking about like verbs, not verbs. You use that when you're talking about like nouns or adjectives, whereas sezu means like it's the negative of a verb pretty much. So, but they're both negative. It's kind of the point. So 気にせず, I didn't give it a second thought. 何気なく is more like kind of like casual. 話していたけど. So 話して is the te form of the verb 話す, which is to talk to somebody. The te form, when you change the verb to its te form, it means that you're probably going to conjugate it further in a number of many different ways. And in this case, we are going to conjugate it further. So ita, you might remember the beginning of the song, ふたりで ita. So it's kind of that same verb, the past tense of to exist. But it's also, if you add it to the end of the te form of a verb, it means was doing the verb or used to do the verb. So instead of I talked or we talked, it is we used to talk or I used to talk. And then kedo means however or but. So the whole thought is when we were just friends, I could talk to you normally without thinking twice about it. However,
あなただけ気になる瞬間があったの.
あなただけ, so あなた means you, だけ means only, so あなただけ means only you. 気になる, here's the third occurrence of ki in a different way in just this one verse. It's pretty cool that we're using ki in so many different ways. So 気になる, the expression Xになる means to become X. But as with these other phrases involving ki that we've looked at so far in this verse, it's not very easy to translate that literally. You're going to fall into some pitfalls if you think of it literally. So what that actually means, 気になる, it means that it just won't leave your mind. And often if it's about another person, it means you can't get that person off your mind, probably because you have a crush on that person. But it's not always because you have a crush on that person. It could be like you drive by this convenience store every day and there's this like mysterious looking package that's like been sitting out there for 2 days. And you're like, 気になるな. Like, that like doesn't sit right with me. That makes me wonder. That makes you go, huh? Makes me wonder. Gives me pause. So it can kind of mean that too. But she's talking about anata. 気になる. So if you're talking about that with another person and she's clearly got some kind of feelings for this person based off of the tone of this song. So in this case, we can just assume 気になる means like to have a crush or to not be able to get someone off your mind, to obsess over somebody. And it's あなただけ, which means like maybe she used to think about other people, but now it's only you. So あなただけ気になる. I'm obsessed only with you. I'm thinking only of you. Now I only have feelings for you. 瞬間. So the あなただけ気になる is describing 瞬間, the next noun, which means moment. So a moment where I could only think about you, pretty much. And then 瞬間があった. Atta is the past tense of aru, which means to be or to exist for inanimate objects. A shunkan, a moment, is an inanimate object. It is not a living being. So you use aru and atta instead of iru and ita. So shunkan ga atta means there was a moment. So the whole thought is there was a moment when I started to only think about you. And then that no at the end it's kind of like ndes if you have studied Japanese and you know ndes. You're basically saying that to explain something versus just making a statement. So she's kind of like explaining why she feels the way she does. But then I had a moment when I suddenly only had eyes for you.
もっと綺麗に今すぐなりたい
Motto means more. Kirei is pretty. So more pretty, or in better English, prettier. So もっと綺麗に we're going to keep going. 今すぐ. Let's just take that word 今すぐ and cut, paste it to the beginning of this sentence, and let's rewrite it. Starting over. 今すぐ, right away. もっと綺麗, prettier, になりたい. なりたい is want to become. So you might remember from earlier, X になる means become X. So 綺麗になる would mean become pretty. And then 綺麗になりたい means I want to become pretty. もっと綺麗になりたい means I want to become prettier. And then 今すぐ means right away. Now I think this is a simple case of, it would make more sense if 今すぐ came at the beginning of this thought. You would usually say 今すぐもっと綺麗になりたい. You wouldn't, 綺麗になりたい is like a set phrase, and they're breaking it up by adding 今すぐ in there. And I think it was just a musical choice. It works really nicely with the music. And here's another thing. 綺麗になりたい. That phrase altogether, while it literally means like I want to become pretty, 綺麗になる or 綺麗になった or all that, it kind of means to grow up for a girl. So 綺麗になりたい kind of means I wish I could grow up. I wish I could just grow up already. I wish that I could be a woman so that we could like be in love and be together. I think it's more that kind of nuance in this case. So I translate it as, but then I had a moment when I suddenly only had eyes for you, and now I can't grow up fast enough. And then we're to the lovely whiny chorus. 恋すると
恋すると何かが変わるね
So 恋する is a verb. Koi is romantic love. When you add suru to a noun, it turns it into a verb. So 恋する is to love someone romantically or to be in love. To is a particle. It means a lot of different things. In this case, it means whenever X happens, Y happens. And in this case, X is koi suru, or to be in love. So whenever you're in love, Y happens. And the next part of the sentence is the Y. So Y is 何かが変わるね. So 何か is something. 変わる is to change. So 何かが変わる is something changes. And then ne at the end is kind of like yone at the beginning, but instead of being more like authoritative about this statement, it's just a friendly like, oh man, yeah, I feel you. When you're in love, something changes inside, man. It has sort of that feel to it. So something changes when you fall in love, doesn't it? It has sort of a right, doesn't it? Sort of feeling to it.
目を閉じて確かめて
Me o tojite, so me is your eyes. Tojite is the te form of tojiru, which is to close. And o is the particle, which means like you're performing this verb to this noun. So me o tojite means close your eyes. It can mean the imperative, close your eyes, or it can just mean I'm going to say this verb and then I'm going to say another verb. And in this case, I think it's I'm going to say a verb and I'm going to say another verb, because right after that comes another te form of a verb, taしかめて. That is the te form of taしかめる, which means to make certain of something. So close your eyes, make certain of something. And I translated that as close your eyes, ... just to be sure, ... because it sounds sort of more romantic-y.
抱きしめたときめきそのまま
Dakishimeta is the past tense of dakishimeru, which is to embrace something. It can literally mean to embrace a person or to hug a person, or it can mean to embrace a concept, to own something. So dakishimeta tokimeki. So tokimeki is like excitement or passion. Basically a fluttering in your heart, and it's usually over romance. So dakishimeta tokimeki means like the fluttering romantic feelings that I embraced or that were embraced. Sono mama means like just as they are or just as it is. And that line on its own, dakishimeta tokimeki sono mama, it's not really a complete thought on its own, so we're going to keep going.
この想い伝えたい
Kono omoi. So kono is one of the kosoado words. If you've seen my kosoado video, it's also part of my Japanese for Beginners series, so check that out if the kosoado words confuse you. Kono means this or my. It means like this. It's an adjective meaning this. You wouldn't like say kono wa ringo desu for like this is an apple. You would say kore wa ringo desu if you want to say this is an apple. But if you want to say this omoi, which is feelings or love in many cases. So kono omoi is this feeling or my feelings, my love, this love of mine. Tsudaetai. So tsudaetai is the verb, comes from tsudaeru, which means to tell somebody, but it really means like to communicate to somebody so that somebody understands. And it doesn't have to mean that you verbally tell someone. So, kono omoi tsudaetai, that line on its own makes sense by itself. It means like I want to communicate my feelings to you. That's basically what that line means. But if you combine it with the line before it, dakishimeta tokimeki sono mama, kono omoi tsudaetai, I translated that as the excitement I felt when I surrendered to my passion. So I translated dakishimeta instead of to embrace my passion. I translated that as surrendered to my passion because I think that just sounded more romantic. I want to show you exactly how that feels. So the sono mama became exactly, I want to show you exactly how that feels. Like just as it is, exactly. Now you see my process.
帰り道みんなの前でも
Kairimichi means the way home. Often it'll mean the way home from school. And we can assume, because of the age of Tsuki no Usagi, the theme of this kind of anime series, yeah, it's probably the way home from school. So kairimichi, on the way home from school. Minna no, so minna means everyone. But usually it should not be translated as everyone. Like if you just say it to people like minna, it should be you guys. Because you wouldn't just say everyone. I don't know, someone might say that, but most people don't say that. And in this case also it's minna no mae demo. I translate that as my friends or our friends. You could translate that as like our classmates or our peers, I guess, but friends just sounds better and less clunky and weird. So I translated minna as our friends. No apostrophe s, our friends. Minna no mae, so mae means like in front of. So minna no mae means in front of everyone or in front of our friends. Demo. So it's not demo, the word as in but, it's actually de and then also mo. It's like two different particles. So みんなの前で means like in front of our friends, perform a verb. So みんなの前で verb would mean like do this verb in front of everyone or in front of our friends. And the next verb comes in the next line of the song, so it'll make a little more sense why I'm translating the particle that way now. Mo means kind of like even in this case, so even in front of our friends. And I can't really make a complete translation yet because there's more words to come. So the next line.
さよならは言いたくないから
Sayonara, goodbye, wa, as for goodbye, 言いたくないから. So 言いたくない comes from the verb you. It's not you, it is I, you. And that means to say. So if you want to change that to the want version, I want to say, you drop the u and you change it to 言いたい. So I want to say 言いたい. But if you don't want to say something, then you drop the e at the end of tai and you change it to kunai and it becomes 言いたくない. So 言いたくない means do not want to say. Sayonara wa 言いたくない means as for goodbye, I don't want to say it. And so that's the verb. The 言いたくない is the verb that I was talking about before with the previous line. みんなの前で verb. So that whole thought, when it's time to go home after school, I don't want to say goodbye in front of our friends. And kara at the end means sort of like since or because. And I'm kind of tacking that on to the next line.
思いきり元気に手をふるわ今日から
So since it's the case that when it's time to go home after school, I don't want to say goodbye in front of our friends, therefore I'm going to do this other thing that I'm going to follow up in the next line. 思いきり means like with full spirit, balls to the walls, just like wholeheartedly. 元気に, so 元気に means like cheerfully. 手を振るわ, so 手 is your hand, 振る is to wave it. So 手を振る is you're waving, the verb is happening to 手, your hand, so you're waving your hand. And how are you waving it? 元気に, cheerfully, and 思いっきり, like super, like whoa, cheerfully. 手を振る, and then wa is sort of this like ha-ha way of ending a sentence if you are female. So it's a very feminine, I will wave goodbye cheerfully. So ha, I'm woman, hear me roar sort of feel to it. 今日から means from today on. So notice that there's kara at the end of this line and kara at the end of the last line, and they mean different things in both cases. The kara in the line before means like because or since, it's the case that. And then the kara in this line means from X to Y. So in this case, it's like from today, 今日 on. So that whole thought. So starting today, I'll wave goodbye with a big smile on my face.
もっと素敵な私を見せたい
Motto, there's that word motto again, and it's in the same spot of the song musically. Good on the lyricist. So motto stekina. Stekina is an adjective that means like pretty, wonderful. It means lots of different things. But yeah, wonderful, pretty, great, beautiful even. Watashi. So 素敵な私 means like wonderful me, beautiful me. So もっと素敵な私, like a more beautiful me, a more beautiful version of me, a more wonderful version of me, the better version of me, the best version of me. So think of that, put that thought in brackets, the best version of me, o. So the best version of me is the noun, o. So we're going to do a verb too, the best version of me. That sounds dirty. 見せたい is the verb that we're going to do to the best version of myself. So misetai comes from miseru, which means to show to someone. So you drop the ru, change that to tai, and it becomes I want to show. So that whole thought is, I want you to see the best side of me. Now notice there was no anata anywhere in there. There's no you pronoun in there. It's more, I want to show the best side of myself, or I want to show the prettiest or side of myself. But it's pretty much, I want to show you the prettiest side of myself. And then back to the chorus, Yume no naka, futari de ita yo ne. Same as the first line of the entire song.
誰よりも近づいて
Dare yorimo. So dare is who, but if you add yorimo, dare yorimo, it means more than anyone else. It doesn't mean rather than who. It means more than anyone else. Chikazuite means approaching, getting closer. So chikazuite, again, is the te form of the verb chikazuku, which means to get close to someone, usually, but you can use it to get close to anything, like a bookcase or something, chikazuku. So again, the chikazuite, since it's the te form and it's just kind of hanging out and there's nothing coming after it, it could be an imperative, it could be a command, like, get closer than anyone, but I don't think it is. I think it's just, she's saying this verb, it's a thought, and then she's just kind of following it up with some other thoughts. Oftentimes in songs or romantic-y things, you'll have a hanging te form of a verb that won't exactly be resolved. So I translated those lines as, we were together in my dreams, I was closer to you than anyone before.
あの時のあなたに送るわ
The next line, あの時の. So あの時 is that time, but usually it means like back then, back in those days. It doesn't mean like that time. It literally means that time, but that's a really bad way of translating it. It's more like back then. あの時の, so back then, z, apostrophe s, あなた, you, に, 送る. So x に送る is to give to x. So あなたに送る which would mean give to you. So あの時のあなた. So that you from back then, the you that existed back then, you from the past, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to bestow it to you as a gift. Wa, haha, I'm a woman. What's she gonna give to him? Gonna tell you in the next line.
今愛を届けたい
Ima, right now. Ai, my love, my agape love. Ai wo todoketai. So todoketai is the I want to version of the verb todokeru, which means to give, to send something to someone, so that it may reach you, pretty much, is kind of like the thought behind todokeru. So ai o todokeru is to send your love, but ai o todoketai means I want to send my love. Ima, now. So I translated that as, I couldn't give it to you back then, but now I want to give you my love. I added in the things like I couldn't give it to you back then because, I mean, it's pretty much implied. Like, あの時のあなたに, like, the you from the past. I want to give my love now to the you from the past. That's kind of the more literal translation of it. Sounds a little clunky, and I wanted it to split into two lines, so it sounds more like a song. So I couldn't give it to you back then, but now I want to give you my love. And the particularly whiny bridge. 明日はとって
明日はとてもいいことが
Anyway, 明日 means tomorrow, but it can also mean like the future, our coming days. It doesn't always literally mean just tomorrow. So as for tomorrow, the coming days, とても means very. いいこと means good things. いい means good, こと means things. So 明日はとてもいいことが. Tomorrow, very good things. We're going to continue that thought in the next line.
起こりそうな気がするわ
Okoriso. So okoriso is, it comes from the verb okoru, which means to occur, to happen. And then if you change the ru to ri, because it is an u verb, if you know what u verbs and ru verbs are, and then you add so to the end of that, it becomes, it looks like this verb is going to happen. So it looks like, it seems like, I have a feeling that it's going to happen. What's going to happen? とてもいいこと. Very good things. When's it going to happen? 明日, tomorrow, these coming days. So put that whole thought in brackets. 明日はとてもいいことが起こりそう. Put that in brackets, add na to the end of all of that. So you're basically changing that whole thought into an adjective, into a na adjective. 気がする. So again, 気がする. It's another key. This is our fourth use of key in this song. This is amazing. I should title this video, how to use key in 4 different ways. So 気がする means I have a feeling that. I have a sense that. It's kind of a psychic-y sort of thing. I feel it in my bones. So, and the wa at the end. My womanly instincts tell me that something very good is going to happen in the coming days. I translate it as, I have a feeling that something very good is going to happen in the coming days. I didn't add the my womanly instinct in there because that just kind of sounds, I don't know, facetious. And at the end of the song, you just repeat one of the choruses from before, the 恋するとなにかがかわるね。目を閉じて確かめて。抱きしめた、ときめき、そのまま、この思い、伝えたい. That part of the song. So basically, yeah, that is the end of the song. Thank you for watching my breakdown of Heart Moving from Sailor Moon. And this officially concludes episode 1 of Watch Sailor Moon, Learn Japanese. I am taking suggestions for other anime series. There are several caveats. One, I have to be able to find the anime in raw Japanese and be able to download it easily. 2, it would be nice if I were able to easily find a Japanese transcript. I actually did Sailor Moon by ear for the most part until I finally got smart and looked up a transcript online in Japanese, and it made things a lot easier. But, you know, preferably there's a Japanese transcript out there, and also preferably it's an older anime series because I don't want to get hit with a copyright strike after doing a bunch of hard work. I'll take the demonetization hit if I have to from time to time, but I really don't want a copyright strike. So those are sort of my parameters that I'm looking for a new anime series to break it down. Or if you just want me to keep doing Sailor Moon, I'm totally cool with that. I would love to do Toei's official site where I got episode 1 from. They have episode 1 of pretty much every single season. I would love to do the first episode of S, for example, because that's my favorite series. So if you guys are all cool with that, I can just do that. But if you have other suggestions of other anime series to break down or other scenes, like famous scenes from anime that you want me to break down and teach Japanese from, let me know and I shall do that. Also, if there are any other anime songs that you want me to look at, let me know. I have a new tier on my Patreon. It's a $5 tier, and it is specifically for people who want me to do more musical content like this. There's a perk that comes with that. Once a month, you get to vote on what song you want me to translate, and I will send all the patrons at this tier a write-up, a written translation of that song with translations of every single word, so that you can look at that, and if you memorize the song and memorize what all the words means, you can retain a lot of grammar just from that. That is legit how I learned a lot of my Japanese, so I stand by that method. Speaking of patrons, thank you to all my lovely patrons for supporting this and other series on this channel, and I'll see you maybe in my next Sailor Moon related video. 月の光は愛のメッセージ